Okay guys, I wanted to make a quick video about a DIY thing that you can do that has to do with prepping for everything getting worse with the food supply chain and everything, right? Like nobody really knows about how bad this is gonna get. My daughter's trying to help with the chicken video. Yes, you got a ball. Good job. Okay, so this is a chicken coop that me, my husband, and our son, we made together. And so I'm gonna walk you through it. It's not maybe the fanciest chicken coop you ever did see, but the thing I love about chickens, and I love chickens, they're like these awesome creatures, guys. You would love having chickens. We used to have chickens years ago when we lived in a different state. And so we have 12 chickens. And that's the same amount we had when we were in this other state, and they lay so many eggs that we would get, I mean, my gosh, 10 or 12 like every day. So it's just a constant food supply. It's just a constant food supply that you can have the eggs, and then if worse comes to worse, then they will be butchered. That is our backup in case, you know, crap really does hit the fan. But in the meantime, we have a constant supply of food with getting eggs from them. These ones haven't started laying yet. They just are getting up to maturity now. We got them when they were like teenager chickens. Okay, so I'm just gonna tell you real quick what we did, because I didn't like a lot of the chicken coops, you know, like at our local Tractor Supply store and stuff like that. They're really small and really overpriced, okay? And I wanted something bigger so that our chickens can really run around and stuff, and we could get more in here, quite frankly, more than the 12 that we have. I'm probably gonna get more chickens, but this is what we kind of like got started with, an easy dozen, and it just so happens that one turned out to be a rooster, even though they were supposed to all be hens. So that's pretty cool, because we have one rooster, and from what I understand, the rooster can fertilize the eggs, and then it's supposed to be even healthier for you that way. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, so I'm gonna walk you through it. So we basically started with these T-posts. You can see the green T-posts in the picture here, and we put them in 4 corners, and then put you know, put them like one halfway in between on each side. So there's 8 T-posts in all. They were about $7 each. We got 7-foot high T-posts, and so that we would have a 6-foot high coop, because we didn't want to be bending down really far to access our chickens. And so if you get a 7-foot high T-post, then you can put it down, you know, essentially a foot in the ground, and have a 6-foot high coop. Okay, so they only run about $7 each. So we got 8 of those in all. And that was like our basis here. Then we ended up needing a post in the middle to kind of be like a higher point, so that we wouldn't, when the rain comes and stuff like that, then we wouldn't have pooling in the center of the tarp on top. So you can probably see in the video, there's like, it's like a 4x4 that we used to put up in the center. Now that was free because we already had it laying around. And that's the biggest thing I'm going to say about this, guys, is that you don't have to use whatever special things that they have. Use whatever you have laying around. We have so many things laying around that we could just repurpose, and that saved us so much money. So we had a 4x4 that was laying around for whatever reason, and we had a cinder block. You know, we have some cinder blocks in there. We already had those laying around, so we didn't pay for those either. So we just slapped a cinder block in the ground and put the 4x4 in it, and then put packed dirt in there, and it's very sturdy, actually. Okay, so that gives us the basis right there. We had that 4x4 in the center, the posts on the outside. Then we just bought a big roll of chicken wire, and this one, I mean, they had some higher rolls that were like 6 feet. They didn't have any in stock, so we weren't able to get that, because then we would just have to wrap the whole thing once if you get a 6-foot high thing going on there. So I think we got was it 150 feet? Yes. We got 150 feet, and it was by like 4 foot, I think. So we were able to, because we made this thing 12 by 12 basically. So anyways, we made ours 12 by 12, so it's 12 feet. It's just a nice square, okay? And so it's really, really big, like I said. So that's one reason that our cost is a little bit higher too, because we made this thing so big, but it's an awesome environment for these chicks. So then after that, I guess the next thing we did after stretching oh, I didn't tell you how much it was. The chicken wire to go all the way around it, it was like $100 for the roll that we got. And it worked perfectly, because we wrapped the whole thing in it, and then we actually covered it on top also, just to give the tarp some stability. The entire top is covered in chicken wire, and to keep anything from getting through, you know. So that was one roll, did all of that completely, which was amazing. So then we got a tarp. It was just like a cheap Harbor Freight tarp that we covered the whole thing in, which worked really well. It was only like $30. Worked really well until we got one of our first storms, and then it just tore it all to heck and started trying to blow our entire cage around, so that really sucked. So we ended up having to buy this other one, which we also got from Harbor Freight. We had to get 2 of them because of the size, but it's like mesh. It's a mesh tarp. So there's 2 of them. They're 50 bucks each. So that's $100 just to get a good covering on this. So some of the things too, you can repurpose things like I said, and besides that, just go cheap, and then you can upgrade different parts of your system. That's what we've done, little things here and there to upgrade. Like, oh, let's put a better tarp on top because we didn't like how the other one was working out. And then inside here you can see we got the feeder and the waterer. Well, initially we got really cheap ones. It was like 30 bucks for a feeder and a water together. And then we ended up upgrading the system a bit. But that was a choice. So you don't have to go big right away. So now, go ahead, my husband's helping out too.
So, but the thing is, with the 2 tarps,
yes,
they're actually doubled up because the first one was letting in a little bit too much light. Okay, so they are doubled up, but I believe you laid the second one.
But they're crossways, yeah.
Crosswise.
Yeah, so it's not doubled up on the sides. The top is because we doubled it over, you know,
now
crossed
they get
over.
A nice amount of shade. It's
yeah.
with that. And I want to suggest to you guys to go to Lowe's. I would not go to Home Depot if I was you. I don't advise that because they support homo. And
yeah.
So
agreed.
Definitely go to Lowe's and look at their scrap lumber section. Okay, a lot of times they'll keep it outdoors and you'll see like this big clearance sign. This 4x4 that we put in the middle, that's what you see right there. That was just like one day I was at Lowe's, we're like, hey, eventually we're gonna need a 4x4, you know.
I couldn't remember where we got it from.
Yeah, so we just pick it up when you go there. You'll get it at a discount. It might be curved. Well, you don't care. You're not building a house with this, so definitely get the scrap wood. Okay.
I saw somebody on Craigslist too who sells scrap lumber, so it's cheaper. And I mean, he has long pieces, but it's just repurposing stuff basically. So you can go cheap. You don't have to have this brand new like thing going on.
No, definitely keep scrap lumber around your house, and don't keep it on the ground where the termites are going to get to it directly on the dirt. Put it on a couple of like cinder blocks, you know, and that way it's just up off of the ground. And I mean, believe me, it's nice to just have that. You got the wood for cheap, and when the time comes, you're doing a project, you just go grab that wood. Okay. It works great in this regard too. And pallets too. I mean, you probably mentioned pallets already.
We didn't talk about pellets yet. I'm doing the frame. So that was basically it for the framing, except that at the bottom edge here, we didn't want our dog to dig under. So we used just like the cheap little metal tent stakes that you can buy to hold your tent down. Oh, here's one of them right here. And we just put like a dozen of them or so right around the edges, all the way around. That was chicken poop. Ugh. And, but that just holds that bottom edge down just a bit. And we haven't had any problems with our dogs getting in there, and they the chickens kind of walk up to the fence and the dog walks up to the fence and they explore each other, but we haven't had any digging problems with them getting into the coop, which is awesome. And then we used zip ties for like connecting the tarp here all around the edges. And then let's see, just so you don't have to think too much about it, with these T-posts and with the chicken wire, we just used little pieces of wire in random places all over it. Well, it wasn't really random. We really did think about it and do a good job. But we used that all around just to secure it to the T-posts. And then the only other thing here was the opening. The opening was literally just the wire, chicken wire. We just started here, wrapped around the whole thing, and then came back to here, and then we just stretched it over. And that was initially what we had, and then my son decided to get creative and kind of like make a makeshift door frame so that we wouldn't, he could attach the edges of the chicken wire to that so that the chicken wire wouldn't be sticking to itself and a pain to go in there. So, I mean, he literally just used some random pieces of wood and screwed it where he needed to, and used the stapler. And so it's just a makeshift doorway, but it works like phenomenal. And we actually ended up upgrading it at one point and put a little handle on it, because that's how we roll. But you don't have to do these things, you know, go basic to start and then upgrade. And then we just use some of these bungees. The prices for everything in the description, but these rubber bungees we got from Harbor Freight, and it just stretches across the doorway. So we undo the bungees and then that door just opens right up. Maybe you could do that. Can you open it?
Definitely, yeah. If you're thinking of getting stuff from Harbor Freight, check the pricing at Lowe's first, because you'll be surprised sometimes things at Lowe's are either the same price or cheaper, and it's better quality.
Not always cheaper.
Yeah, they try to get you that on the thing that the point where you're assuming that Harbor Freight is cheaper, kind of like Amazon.
Like dollar stores too, same thing.
Yeah,
like dollar stores are not always cheaper.
Yeah.
especially when they downsize you to tiny things. So we put the cinder blocks here just because we wanted to add some stability to the doorway area and keep our dog from giving them a hard time. Watch out, because they'll try to leave. I'll come in there with you. Okay. What, honey? Oh yeah, you put a T-post right here. He put an extra one in, but we just had it laying around just to add stability to the entrance right there. Hi, sweetie patootie. You want to come in? You have to ask Daddy.
Come on.
Okay, so on the inside here, this is just an old dog crate that we had sitting around, so we didn't pay for that. This is our quarantine zone, and no, it doesn't have to do with, not allowed to say it, but this quarantine is for, if you know anything about chickens, like if one of them gets like an owie, and they see blood, then they will like, all of them will like totally gang up on the chicken and start pecking at its wound. It's like actually kind of sick. And so if you have an injured bird, even if it's a tiny injury, then we just locked it in there with its own food and water for a couple days. And I squirted some colloidal silver on its wound, and it was better in a couple days, and then he was out with the rest of society. So it's good to have some kind of little quarantine zone like that you can deal with. If we got baby chicks, I could also put them in there so that they could get used to the big chicks to keep them safe. So that's kind of nice, like double use. And our daughter loves the chickens.
She's like competitive.
They're cute, I know. Okay, so this is the watering system we ended up with. And we got it on Amazon. You can look up chicken waterers, and I liked it better. That was an upgrade that we did. And then we had this laying around right here. We got cinder blocks, and we just put a 2x4 through it. This is all repurposed stuff. But this was a perch that we made because you have to have something for them to perch on. Oh, my husband's picking up chickens, so. All the other chickens are mad. You got our friend. We got to come in here more often so they don't get so upset. Okay, so anyways, we just made a makeshift perch there. They just have to have something to perch on. Easy breezy, right? So this is what we made for a shelter for them, so that if there's actually a storm and they need more of a shelter, they could climb in here. This is literally one of those plastic pallets we got free somewhere, and then some wooden pallets. And we just made an A-frame out of it, tied it with some rope. I mean, this is all stuff we already had on hand. And then we had an old tarp, and that was just a piece from an old tarp that we just stretched over it. So we didn't pay for anything in regards to that house. It was all repurposed, and they love going in there. Like, the chickens will just gather in there. You can tell by all the poo-poos in there. They just love sitting in there. It's a nice little area for them to have. Then we had to figure out the nesting situation. So you're gonna have to get yourself a bale of hay. It's like $11, not that much. And then I found this idea online. I basically bought this bookshelf at the thrift store for like 10 bucks. And then we took these 5-gallon buckets, and you just cut the lid and then snap it on the front there so that it gives them like this little opening and it holds the hay inside. Okay, so what we did in these boxes is drill a couple holes through them and then zip tie it. I don't know if you can see it, but we zip tied it to the shelf. So we zip tied from the shelf up into the thing, through the hole, down to the second hole, and to itself. So this is steady up here. It's not going to go anywhere. And then we put the hay in there. And then I read online that if you get golf balls, if you're trying to get them to learn how to nest in something, then put golf balls in there, and it gives them the idea, like, duh, put your eggs in here, chicks. We haven't gotten any yet, but hopefully when it's time, then they will lay them in the proper spot. So we got these 5-gallon buckets. That's how we figured out to get them their nesting boxes. We got 8 of them, and you know, they run about $5 each, so it was like 40 bucks. And then I guess an extra $10 if you add in the bookshelf that we got from the thrift store. What's up, chicks? Okay, and then you need some kind of a ramp, you know, and I don't know that you even need a ramp. Everything online says for them to have a ramp, but I've noticed, and my kids have noticed, that they just literally flap up and they get right in those boxes without the need of a ramp. So we still have one here. This is just a car part. I'm not really sure what it's from, but my husband works on cars, so he had it laying around, so that's another free thing. So this is what you guys got to do, man. If you're thinking survivalist, make yourself a chicken coop and freaking repurpose things. See what you have that you can turn into other things to make it super cheap. She's gonna feed him.
She's trying. Marco's trying to get him, so he's like, I can't get in there.
But you guys, oh boy, leave the chickens alone.
He wants to play with them.
So that's the best thing I would say, is to repurpose things. And the other thing is, you don't have to do it all at once. Like, if you only have 100 extra bucks, go and buy the chicken wire and then let it sit there. And then the next time you have 50 bucks or whatever, or 60 bucks, then go and get yourself the T-posts. You know, do it stage by stage, and it's not really that much. People spend way more than that on movies and all this other crap. And this is like a really good survivalist kind of DIY thing, and it's good for the kids because they can help out with it, so it teaches responsibility. And I guess that's basically it. Did you have anything else that you wanted to mention about the chicken coop here?
No.
I think I covered everything.
No, I think you talked
for what we spent.
This too, yeah?
I did, yeah, for them just to have a little roost thing. Yeah, and those were repurposed. So most of the stuff here is repurposed. All in all, it cost us under $500, but that would be including the upgrades that we had to do to the tarps, and then the upgraded food bucket and water bucket that we ended up getting. That includes all of that. It was still under $500. And the chicken feed is really cheap. Like, we looked into getting a pig, and they eat so much that I was like, I don't know that we want to do this, you know, because we don't want to be spending more than what it's worth to keep them on hand for an emergency. So we ended up getting, oh boy, the battle of the babies. So we ended up getting this this chicken feed, right? Because it's a good quality chicken feed, and basically a bag of that is $20, and it lasts about 2 to 3 weeks with 12 chickens. So it's really not expensive to keep chickens on hand, and you can buy them extra little corn or little fun things like that. We have some extra things that we'll throw in here, but as far as necessities go, $20 for a bag of chicken feed is not bad at all. So if you guys have any suggestions or things that you've tried, or even questions, post them in the comments. We'll be happy to give you some more ideas. But I hope you guys like our little chicken coop here. We freaking love it, and it's really big and awesome. Oh, and I didn't mention how much the smaller ones were, babe. Remember you were talking about that?
The smaller what?
The chicken coops you can get, and how this is really affordable considering.
Oh yeah, the smaller chicken coops, if you look them up, I mean, you're going to be spending anywhere from like $200 to $400 anyway. So why are you going to spend that on a little thing that, I mean, how are you going to get them out of there? Are you going to lift the whole thing up?
I know, it doesn't really make
crawl
sense.
Inside, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So some of them I've just seen are very inconvenient. And I mean, honestly, some of them even cost like close to $1,000.
Yeah, they do.
Like, and it's not even big like this. So.
No, it's not big. And that's more like and how do the chickens move around? Because they're really big now that they've gotten so big. It's like, I don't know, that's like the McDonald's way of raising chickens, you know, like where they're all crammed in and they can barely move. Like, we wanted our chickens to be able to move around and have a good time, and they're doing great in there. Yeah. And the chickens themselves, you know, I got them for, I wanted to say we got them as like teenager size because that's what they had in our area at the time. So we kind of got ripped off. They were like $8 each. So, you know, for all 12 of them, it was like $100-ish, you know, and which is kind of a rip off. But you can get, even if you want to start from chickies, from little tiny chickies, I mean, they're like $2.99 to get one chicken. So you can do that if you don't want to pay more, or, you know, buy a couple chickens and then slowly get more and more. I intend to get some more, maybe a dozen more, because they could easily fit in here. And then we have even more layers to lay eggs for us and for anybody else, you know, who we want to share them with. Do you have anything you wanted to add, son? Because he helped us build it. Is that pretty much it?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's essentially it. So if you have, I want to mention too that my son Elisha, he found out that dogs don't like their poop, and so that's supposed to be a good way to keep them away. So if you have problems with your dog trying to get into your chicken coop, which ours hasn't actually really tried, you could put dog poop on the outside edge just a little bit here and there, and they will stay away from it. Because don't they completely stay away from it because they hate their poop? Yeah.
Yeah, even if they dig in one spot, then just put poop there and cover it up with a little bit of dirt, and they won't go there next time.
Sweet. So that's a good way if you have to keep your dogs out of your chickens. That was one of our biggest concerns, but we haven't actually had a problem. They seem to actually like each other and kind of play around. A couple times actually the chickens have even gotten out of the coop, and the dogs kind of chased them around, but hasn't tried to bite them. They kind of like play with each other. It's actually kind of funny. Like, let's coexist. The other kind of coexist, not the religious, false, wicked kind of coexist. All right. Well, God bless you guys, and I hope this blesses you. Really consider doing something like this or some other kind of farm animal. If you live in an area that you can do that, do something so that you're doing something to prepare for these times that we're going into, okay? God bless you guys.
Guys, Ministers of the New Covenant is a Christian channel. So we want to make sure that all of you are completely prepared for the last days, which means get in line with Christ. Put your faith on Christ, and the gospel is what you need to believe in order to be saved, which is found in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 1 through 4. The gospel is that Jesus died for your sins, and that he was buried, and that 3 days later, according to the scriptures, he was raised again, resurrected from the dead. Okay? He did this for you to cover your sin. If you believe on him today, you will receive eternal life, okay? So it's more than about chickens and everything else. It's about Christ. Check out our other videos so that you'll be blessed. The Lord gives us this information and a community to be blessed with one another, okay? So don't miss out. Believe in Jesus today for your salvation, you guys. God bless you.
And let them know too about your channel so that they can go to
Oh.
your channel, because this is like mine mostly, although the kids use
Yeah.
it, but my husband has a channel too, and he does news things on there and different things. So if you let him know, I'll put a link at the end of the video.
So I have 2 channels, but definitely one of them was Shadow, and then I have to say a few words in between, banned because of standing up for our freedoms in this country. And so, you know, this platform didn't like that. So the one that was Shadow, and then I'll say a few words, banned, is Through the Grace. Okay, you can check out that one. My new channel is called Through the Grace News. All right, so you can check that one out. And whenever I have availability, I get on there and I show news topics that relate to current Bible prophecy and where we're at in regards to the soon coming of Jesus Christ. Okay,
Amen.
so definitely check that out as well.
Okay, I'm gonna put links, guys, so you can check it in. I'll put it definitely in the description, and I'll also try to put a link at the end so you can just click it. So
All right, God bless you guys.